Alright, garden tour video, the 5th of July. Starting over with the things that actually have changes. That's some hay from the inside of the coop. Ugh. I switched out the bedding from pine shavings to just lots of hay. Let me see if there's any snakes in here today. Usually there are, and they lie like right underneath the surface, but you can clearly see them. Oh, we got some eggs. Hello. Got some eggs in that corner. They have a couple nests under there. There's eggs there. Hello. And we've got a jar of roasted and blended up, powdered basically, eggshells that we just put all up in their food so that they can get some calcium back when they eat. This is a bag we just need to throw away. But I'm liking this deep bedding. It'll go great with the compost when we clean it out, so that's nice. Having a bunch in there means that I can just fluff it up whenever I need or add to it from that pile that was underneath the boxes. And I can build it up over the course of the year, essentially deep bedding them, and then bring it all out once a year, put it in the compost. This is our little area that I didn't know what the heck we were gonna do because it's ugly, hard to get in. Those sticks can come off, they're just to chase the chickens around. But Jess had the idea of putting kale seeds in here and making this like an intentional greens area for them, and it's kind of perfect. So we're starting them now, and hopefully they'll be established come winter. And ideally we'll be able to put like comfrey in here and all sorts of greens to grow during the cold season and the early spring before anything really leaves out and grass really grows. And this way we could just let them in for a day at a time and then put them to bed and then shut them out and let the plants recover for the next week. Here's one of the 2 grape plants that we want to grow along the edges or the backs, or the fronts even, to kind of beautify it because it's really freaking ugly right now. Probably not on the top, but at least the sides. There's the other grape plant. Everything over yonder is exactly the same as it was. No change. Woo! Almost lost my hat. We've got some self-seeded sunflowers that I'm really excited about. These are black sunflowers. So hopefully we'll get more off of those and I'll be able to save more. Jess's garden is looking nice. He's thinking of doing a garden tour video of the flower gardens. He just mowed the lawn. It's looking absolutely gorgeous. Oh, he knocked a brick off. I'll go, whoa, I stepped in a hole. There we go. These irises we grabbed from Megan's backyard, and I swear I grabbed a clump that big, but it turned into that clump, that clump, that clump, that clump, and there's a little, that one. Ooh, this wind is taking my hat off. So it's like quintupled in size, which is absolutely, it's insanity. They're very happy here. Irises in general are very happy here. Here is the box of peas that I'm letting go to seed so that I can seed save from them. They've got some resurgent growth, which is absolutely surprising, but I'll take it. We're just letting the plants essentially die. Ooh, here's one that's basically ready. Oh yeah, that's a dry pod. That's exciting. It's gonna have to go on my Instagram. Then this one is pretty much, it reached the same point that the other one did a couple months ago where it's starting to look like it's gonna die. But I have a feeling if we stop picking from it that it'll have that second growth. And then we can seed save from that one as well, which is good because I need a lot of them. Our blueberry plants, and we started fertilizing them about once a week with a liquid fertilizer, and we've got all of this new growth, which is insane. I think next year's fruit will be on it. Hopefully. The bigger we can get it, the better. We've still got like a handful of blueberries, but just a handful. The liquid fertilizer is even starting to bring these guys back a little bit. That one probably just needs another plant to be planted. This one was a success story. It was like this tall and then it just doubled. I think from the fertilizer. Fertilizer is helping that one as well. Yep, all of these are looking better for the fertilizer. We need to actually plant both of these currants. The one in the bag is always looking happy. This one's looking a little dry, a little pot bound. But I swear to God, the garbage bag currant is looking happier than ever. Oh, forgot to mention. We've got tons of nice strawberry plants with some really nice strawberries. Ooh. Just gonna grab that one. And the grapes are all pretty much getting up to that line, the top wire. Pretty cool. Elderberry's looking good. Here's the smaller one. Probably needs a little fertilizer. And here's the bigger one. I swear to God, these were like 5-inch long sticks in February, planted underground. And now they've got berries, or they've got blooms at least. We'll see if they berry. I've been going through every day or every other day, snagging the ripe strawberries, and I toss the ones that are slug-eaten to the side. Hopefully those will actually make more plants, but they've already got runners, which is really cool. There's a few that pop up elsewhere. I think this is just like a potato plant that I picked a while ago and forgot to pick up. The corn and bean situation is looking good. There's also a couple squash plants in here. This is the Three Sisters zone. And I mean, it's hard to find any fault really. Oh, we've got a bloom in there. That's gonna be nice. I wonder if that's a male or a female. That's a male. Be getting a lot of male blooms where they don't have a squash behind them. Or like a bulb for a squash. So far the corn is holding their own, but I've been keeping an eye on them because I know everyone else has had the problem where they pull them over. There's a baddie bee. Wasp, no good. It seems like the beans gravitated towards the sticks that I planted for their support more than the corn, which kind of worked out in my favor. Looks like we've got a little bit of pest, but not too much. Oh, there's one. There's a female. You can see the bulb behind it. And then there's a couple little squash that looks like they're growing, but we'll see if they actually turn into fruit. So everything's coming along. This guy is getting nice and bushy. It's got some big leaves, which I'm really pleased about. Like I said, the corn is almost up to my shoulder now, the tallest ones. That one might actually be up to my shoulder. So that's pretty cool, almost 5 feet. These blue potatoes were the earliest ones that I planted, and they're looking like they're approaching, ooh, got a fly on me. Approaching time to actually bulk harvest. I'm waiting until they actually die back, or yellow at least, and then I'll harvest those. And we'll probably just use, like what I'd like to do is just, as soon as we need potatoes or anything, harvest them one at a time. And I'd like to store the reds and the russets. We got all the house potatoes out because those came up and developed the earliest. And now from here over is red chieftain. And on this back end, that's the third one that I planted. This one first, this one second, and this one third. I think it was like March, April, and May or something. And the russets should last probably until we get new potatoes in the spring on this bed. But since everything on this bed is summer-y, essentially, or summer or fall, all of it's gonna come out and all of it will be planted with greens, different winter greens. So like maybe Brussels sprouts, those usually last a little too long, but like arugula, rocket, maybe some rutabaga, kohlrabi, maybe kale, stuff that I know I will want over the winter while the rest of the beds are reorganizing. Still need to set this last one. I've got just one half basically of the last bed set, and I still need to fudge the dimensions of it, but I've got, if we go over there, because it's pretty consolidated, this is just dumped here so that Jess could mow back there. We've got hops, which are going to be growing up and around the moon gate. I'm pretty excited. And pumpkins. I'm not sure what variety these are, but they look pretty happy. I got them from a neighbor for free as starts. They were just extras. More came up than they anticipated. This back part needs to scoot back a little bit, and maybe like 3 or 4 feet back. And then I can move dirt onto here and plant right on top of the manure like I have been. This manure pile needs to essentially be carved so that we have the third prong. So like this section needs to be removed and tossed in the back there, and then like actually this is probably the edge of it, so this part needs to come out and be thrown in back. And then I'm just gonna leave this high, and I'm probably just gonna use it as the place where I compost from. Just let it break down. And then that manure pile will be covered over the winter. And then this dirt pile, if we have any left, will be covered over the winter as well. This is where I pulled my beets from the other day. And we've definitely got healthy beets. Those are a little too deep down to see. But they're multi-sown, which doesn't seem to hinder them at all. They still swell up pretty good. And this is not a cylindrical variety. This is like a regular shaped. I think it's Egyptian Crosby, so it's like a globe. But the cylindrical ones seem to do really well when they're multi-sown. They just pop out of the ground as they grow. And these are doing good so far as well. Really, what I'm more worried about is getting good growers. So like this is a good example. There's a pretty good growers. So not too small, which I like. I try to pull only the big ones, and I just let all the other ones stay in there because I want beets over time. All of the beets that were for eating have come out of here already, which is very exciting. This bed is approaching its next phase, essentially. And we've got our Brussels sprouts, which we're going to keep all winter. And we've got recuperating leaves in here. We fried them earlier with neem oil by accident, and this one got eaten on top of that. So we were like, well, crap. Oh, that one's from that one. But yeah, they're still growing, and there's little Brussels in the armpits of these. And that's really where the actual Brussels sprouts come from. That's, flies. That's where the development needs to take place, is right in these armpits. Right there on all of these junctions. And you can harvest them as you need, just taking them off from the bottom, and they get to be nice and tall. Take the leaves off the bottom to keep slugs from eating the dead leaves, because that's what they do. This thicket is radishes gone to seed and mustard greens gone to seed, but bees love the mustard greens, so I'm not really that mad at it. And you can still harvest the mustard just fine. I did pull out some radishes to make kimchi, so we'll see how that turns out. Let's see. This is the last patch of tomatoes that I need to limb and tie up. The rest of the tomatoes have been limbed and tied up. This is our chard, which has gone to seed, and I think this is the male flower. There's a male and a female. I think these are the two. So you can see how one of them is a fertilizer and the other one is a seed. But they're from essentially the same plant. Like on every plant there's gonna be male and female. Here's a good example on the same plant. Male and female side by side, so they get fertilized. I think I've got Kale de Niro planted just wherever there was space. There's a nice healthy one. It's getting sizable. A discovery I've made is that greens get really bitter when it gets really warm, and they're old plants. So, lesson learned. Springtime kale is my favorite kale, and it's really great for things that need a lot of pungent dark greens. And you can still harvest from these just fine, but once they've gone to seed and once it's hot, it's hard to just eat them plain by themselves. In the winter time, they're really sweet. And I still cannot stand the taste of chard unless it's in a soup, and then I love it. I don't understand that, but there you go. For the tomatoes, and there's spinach in there, I forgot to say. I think that we might have been looking at some spinach seeds, actually. And then the chard is mainly that next block over. So for the tomatoes, the stuff that I've seen has told people to essentially limb up to the first flower and then leave the top so that all the energy is put into setting and developing fruit. And then all of the energy that the fruit needs comes from the roots and from these top leaves. And any bottom leaves are gonna be clone plants pretty much. And you can see on this one, started out as one stalk, then it split into two separate plants. And then there's a third separate plant coming off of it, off of one of them here. And then it's got another separate plant coming off of here, like a giant fractal. So since that uses a lot of energy, usually people keep one pole or one stem. I've kept 3 or 4 on each plant just to try to cut down on energy usage but also get a good crop. And there's tons of flowers. This is lettuce that just planted and it's doing really great. I've tried to scout out where my tomatoes are, and another benefit to limbing so far up is that the tomatoes that are within view start to ripen, and usually they'll be off the ground. There's another clump over there. But if there's too much vegetation around it, then they won't have a chance to have sunlight on them, and they need sunlight in order to ripen, and that's usually a hindrance if you have a really healthy plant but you're not getting ripe fruit. That's why you need to limb them so that they can get sunlight. The cabbages are coming along, I forgot to mention. I'm really surprised that a couple more heads are coming. I'm seeing a little bit of cabbage eating, either like cabbage fly or caterpillar. But the Red Express cabbage is supposed to be small, so I'm not worried about size. What I mainly was wondering is if it was too hot for them to head up. It needs like 40-degree night temperatures in order to head up, and I think this guy just got too much heat too soon. So instead of heading up, it flowered, which isn't bad. I can try to seed save. Yeah, most of them are trying to head up. Some didn't cabbage at all. This guy just looks like a lettuce. I'll probably need to water these guys tonight. It's another head. These guys are my bush beans. I'm trying to find a bean because I know that they're starting to. Ugh. Oh, here's one. It's like a little elf shoe. But nowhere near ripe, but it's exciting that we're getting beans. Oh, there's a slightly bigger one down, kind of tucked around. Mystery squash. I'm not sure what that is, but I think we got it for Jess's mom from Heidi, and then forgot to give it to her, or she didn't take it or something. These tomatillos are a great success story. This is kind of